What's going on, guys? No guys here. Welcome back to another video. Now, in today's video we're going to go over camera angles, and the big question I always get asked is, does camera angle affect right stick switching? And I'm going to explain to you how it affects right stick switching, but more importantly, does it affect gameplay? It's a question I get asked a lot. For the quick answer is no. For some reason, everyone messages me every single day, or sorry, those that believe it, and they believe that the telebroadcast camera angle is better because apparently it's faster. Now, this is completely false. The only way this can be moderately considered, I suppose you can say viable, is that the telebroadcast camera makes the game appear or feel faster. That's because the camera angle is zoomed in. So, for example, telebroadcast, the camera angle is zoomed in, therefore the camera has to move. Think of it like sitting in the crowd. You know, if you're at your football match and you're in a crowd, and if you're watching it from like the pitch side view, you have to keep moving your head left and right whenever you see the players moving. But if you're kind of at the back of the stands, the higher tiers, you can barely see. You just have to move your eyes, not your head. So that's kind of the logic. So the same logic applies here. So that's why people think the co-op camera angle is slow, but it's not. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to watch this segment of play. This is from a FUT Champions game. So you can go into any FUT Champions game and you can try this out yourself. But I want to explain to you the situation over here. So the ball gets played to Ronaldo. Now, before I'm just going to pause at this moment when the through ball happens. Watch how the camera just pans all the way to the left. So don't focus on the players too much. Focus on the camera. Now, you see the camera, it moves swiftly to the left-hand side. It pans very quickly to the left. That's what gives the perception, should I say, that the game is actually going faster. Now, think about this carefully. The best logic I can say to you is, if you're online, if you're up against your opponent and you use co-op, your opponent uses telebroadcast, is he going to get faster gameplay? No, you're going to get the same gameplay. So hopefully that should clear it up, because I don't know why everyone some people keep asking that question, but everyone who wants to change to co-op, they always ask me that. But it's very simply, like you can see even over here, this through ball, watch how the camera just pans swiftly to the left-hand side when the through ball gets played. And that's why the game, should I say, appears to be faster. Now, if we go back and watch this exact same clip, but in contrast, this time we change to the co-op camera angle. So we're going to change now to the co-op camera angle. You're going to see the difference. Now, as you can see, because the camera angle is zoomed out, the camera doesn't move too much. It kind of stays static. It stays in line. As I said, you kind of have that, that back kind of sitting back kind of a look. And as you can see, look, the same thing again. This through ball will be played, and you'll see, don't forget, in telebroadcast. So telebroadcast is basically, if I was to draw this, I would say maybe telebroadcast covers that much of the area, maybe, if that. So again, when that through ball gets played over here, what's essentially happening is that camera angle has to then move, so the entire frame has to move. Whereas co-op, because you can see everything from like, a zoomed out angle, as you can see, look, the camera, it barely moves. See that? It's almost like a smooth transition. So in case you're wondering, co-op camera angle does not affect gameplay. So now you understand that, in fact, if co-op makes the gameplay slower, it's actually beneficial because it gives you more time to think, more time to see, but more importantly, more than anything, it allows you to have a better oversight, should I say, of play. What I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you're over here. So you have the ball with Ronaldo, you pass the ball to your right back. Now, the issue is, if you're using telebroadcast, you cannot see this play over there. Like, I can even show this to you. If we change telebroadcast, you cannot see that play over there. This is why I recommend every single person, until you get to Elite, to use co-op. In fact, I still use co-op even now, because the amount of information you get on the screen, you can see so many things earlier before your opponent, it makes a big difference. In case you're wondering, okay, if co-op is so good, why don't the pro players use it? Number one, pro players, they look at the radar all the time. Even with the co-op camera angle, I still glance at the radar every second. Chances are you don't do that. So that's why you should use the co-op camera angle. That way it saves you from looking at the radar and you can concentrate on the main gameplay. Second reason why, more importantly, is because also the pro players, some of them use co-op, but they mainly use telebroadcast. It's because it's better for dribbling. So when you got the ball, the benefit of telebroadcast, the only benefit in my opinion, is that because it's more zoomed in, you get a better insight to where to your player or the ball carrier and the proximity of your opponent's players towards them. So it's better for dribbling. But I'll be honest, the way I solve this is, if you find that the co-op camera angle is too zoomed out, what you can do is you can go over to game settings, single player camera angle, then go to custom camera settings, put it to custom. It's kind of blacked out here because it's on the FUT Champions channel. Now the camera height, the most important thing is you want this to be as high as possible. That way you get a top down view. This is another thing that people don't talk about, but why it's important to have this, or should I say, on on as high as possible. If we go back to the co-op camera angle, if you have like a low down view, you're going to be the difference between this player and this player. If you compare the distance, they're completely different, because you can see more of this pitch because this side of the pitch is more angled. Look, maybe the best to illustrate this, maybe it would be down the wing. Down the wing, obviously, because the ball is towards the center of the pitch. But in fact, if we rewind this just a second over here, actually, so you can see, for example, over here, whereas the ball is kind of in the middle of the pitch, as you can see just about over here when the ball goes to the middle, it's easier to see this side because that's further away from you. Now, essentially what you're doing is the perception of knowing distance is not the same as this distance, so that's why I always increase the height to get more of a bird's eye top down view. That way all across the pitch you have a systematic process. As I said, the lower it is, as you can see, this side of the pitch appears to be more prominent and that side of the pitch becomes reduced, as you can see. But you can see if we increase it all the way, you can now see more of this pitch, and because the top of the part of the pitch expands, you can see more of that. The camera zoom now, if you want to dribble, you can use 20/20. I use 20/0, but if you want a good combination of both, 20/10 is what I'll say is a good balance. But I'll be honest, 20/10 I think is the perfect co-op camera angle because you're not too zoomed in, but you're not too far away either, so you can still see the entire pitch and you can still dribble. Of course, this would differ. I'm using a 27-inch TV, maybe about a couple of meters away, not too much. But even if you sit close to it, whether you sit back, it just depends also on your person. But this goes back again to the same thing. It's down to personal preference. Some people prefer tele-broadcast, some prefer co-op. But I'll be honest, until you get to Elite 3, I'd highly recommend use the co-op cam angle. It's also better for defending. The reason why is, this is a question I get asked a lot. When you're defending in this, in fact, let's return the ball back to when Ronaldo gets the ball down the wing and passes the ball to his right back. The issue is when you're defending. Now let's say, for example, this ball gets played and then the through ball gets played down the wing. Now the issue is, if you want to, for example, change player on tele-broadcast, you have to basically angle I suppose you can say, the analog stick depending on where the ball is. So problem is, let's say for example you have the ball over here, and let's say for example in this situation, opponent red has the ball, you're defending. Now if you want to switch, for example, to any one of these two players, you need to understand where every single player in that field is, because for example with the co-op camera angle, maybe to make this simplify this just a bit better, for example, let's say Ronaldo's the ball over here. Let's just say, for example, if we zoom in now with tele-broadcast, let's say you can't see this player. Assume you can't see this player. Now with tele-broadcast, because you can't see all the players, if you want to right stick switch to either one of these two players, if you want to right stick switch to this guy, the issue with tele-broadcast, if you go down, just a little bit like directly down, the issue is that the game might switch to this player. But because you can't see him, you don't know he's there. But if you use the co-op camera angle, subconsciously, because you see him there, you're more inclined to flick the right analog stick towards the left hand side. So what I'm trying to say is, with tele-broadcast, you probably flick the right analog stick like this. When you flick the right analog stick like that, like let's imagine that's a clock, that's 12 o'clock. If you put it towards the 7 o'clock, the game is more likely going to lock onto this player. That's why you might find right stick switching inefficient with probably tele-broadcast. But if you change to co-op, you immediately understand every single player on the pitch, and then when you change to this player, you will know now that if you go more towards like a 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, because he's the only player over there, you guarantee the switch. But the reason why the switch is not probably happening properly is because you're kind of going like this. You want to aim like that, but realistically what's happening, you're not looking at the controller. You end up moving the right analog stick like this, and then you end up going to this guy, and that is why some people mess up with the right stick switching. So what I would say is definitely change to the co-op cam angle. As I said, once you get to Elite 3, once you understand, for example, once you get to Elite 3, you'll understand the game very well. You will know when you're attacking. You will know, for example, all the time your left attacking mid's going to be on that side. Then you can rely on a radar. But I'll be honest, until then, stick. In fact, coming towards FIFA 21, this is the best time for you to change. Look, you're not going to go win your next 5 games. Probably going to lose your next 5 games if you change to co-op. But it's better to do it now than FIFA 21. Obviously, you have to get used to it, but I would recommend changing it. So just to conclude, no, there's absolutely no difference in gameplay speed. It's perception that's given. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take it easy and peace out.